Ion Franchising, it must be Friday. Speedy Freight is the episode today. A hot, brand new brand out of the UK. And now they're going to expand all through the US. We're going to hear all about it.
Up next.
But the one thing that's really missing in logistics is that more human touch. And that's kind of what our model is based on. We're a people-led organization that is technology-enabled.
That sounds a lot like Apple's philosophy. I remember Steve Jobs would always say focus on the product, focus on the service, profits will follow. So I love that.
Absolutely.
So Kody, I have to ask you, what is the craziest thing that you've ever had to ship in your career? Or the weirdest?
Is this appropriate?
Yeah, maybe we should start there. Is this appropriate? I know someone that ships some dolphins.
Ships dolphins?
Yeah, they did a shipment of dolphin.
This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing. I have Dana DeMarino, my old young friend, Director of Franchise Development for Franchise FastLane and Speedy Freight, and my new friend, Kody with a K, Kody Slade, the President of U.S. Operations for Speedy Freight. Welcome, friends.
Thanks for having us, Lance. So excited to be here. This is the podcast, and this is the one to be on.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. Super excited about the opportunity to get to know you.
Well, I appreciate that. So what exactly is Speedy Freight, and what makes it different from every other logistics franchise or brand out there?
Yeah, Lance, I appreciate you asking that. So Speedy Freight, we're a 3PL. So a lot of people in their mind, when they think of freight, they think of, trucks and moving freight and just overall not, more of a blue collar type of industry. What we do is we do something a little bit different. So we're an asset light type of franchise organization. And what we've done is we've gone out and we've kind of done all the hard work. So we've gone out and we've leveraged our overall volume and relationships that we've built over the years of us being in logistics to negotiate with massive discounts with carriers here in the US to really enable franchisees to go out and sit down with customers and offer a really unique service. So the wonderful thing about our team and what we've done and really what makes us different is that a lot of the other logistics franchises out there, they're very focused on just a handful of things. We're a unique model where we really can do everything. When we go out and sit down with customers, it doesn't matter if they're trying to move a full semi worth of product, or if they've got one small little box that they want to move. We have a solution that we can help them with, and that's kind of what makes us different. And also the other thing that really sets us apart is in a day and age where everyone's really pushing to be very technology driven, and tech is great. We love tech. Everyone loves tech. But the one thing that's really missing in logistics is that more human touch. And that's kind of what our model is based on. We're a people-led organization that is technology-enabled. So our whole goal is to go out and build relationships and focus on those relationships and then let the tech follow. And that's really what makes us different than a lot of the other models that are out there and kind of where the industry is going overall.
So just to be clear, because I'm sure a lot of people listening are like, all right, freight. I already have a DHL account. I already have a UPS account or a FedEx account or whatever it might be. Can Speedy Freight do better for us? Do they get us better service? Talk about that a little bit, Kody, with a K.
Yeah. No, you thank you for that. You bring up a really good example, and we actually have it's funny that you say that because we have a case study of a customer, and I don't want to go too specific, but we have a potential customer that they're based in Portland, Oregon. They're a bike company, and they reached out to us because they are currently working with FedEx, and they're just not getting, to be very transparent, they're not getting the support from their sales team and from the operations team at FedEx. And FedEx is a great company. Like, we don't have anything bad to say about FedEx. They do a great job. But once again, in this tech-enabled world, sometimes customers need more hands-on help and more hands-on service than can be offered. And that's kind of what we were able to do is through our partnership that we currently have with DHL, we're able to step in, offer that customer more of that tailored service that they're looking for and give them that hands-on support. And so it does lead, we're there to save them money, but really the thing that will always enable us to maintain our relationships and what we're teaching franchisees to do is build those relationships because relationships last versus just simply going out and selling freight.
Wonderful.
And to kind of add on to that a little bit too, hi everybody, is that I like to kind of call Speedy Freight franchisees more of like a concierge system. Okay, so initially, yes, they are problem solving and finding solutions for the business owners, but they are providing a service for them ongoing that is really kind of that middleman between the nuances and the frustrations that they deal with in shipping. And then they take that and they handle those nuances and those frustrations for that business owner. So they're kind of a concierge service for them. It's what I kind of like to call it. So
I absolutely love that. Thank you. So why launch Speedy Freight in the U.S. now? Why now? UK is super successful.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, that's probably the main reason why to launch now. So our global CEO Mike Smith and our global COO John Munley, they've had a lot of success in the UK. They felt that they had a great model. Back in 2023, I had the opportunity to sit down and meet with them and kind of discuss their plans with the U.S. And the unique thing about Mike and John and in Speedy Freight overall is that when I sat down with them, the conversation was it wasn't based around, oh, we have this much, we look at the U.S. and there's this much revenue that's out there for us to go get, or we see that we can go and have this kind of impact. It was more so, look, here's our model in the UK. Here's how we treat our franchisees. Here's how we treat our customers. Here's the culture of Speedy that we, really live and die by. And we're so passionate about this culture, we really think we can have an impact in the U.S. And that's really what led us to opening it up in the U.S. And also, when we get into logistics overall, the great thing about logistics and the industry of shipping is that it's just vast, right? When you think of who are you going to go out and talk to, right? It's anyone that has a physical product. So it doesn't matter if you're in food and beverage. It doesn't matter if you're in cosmetics. It doesn't matter if you're in construction. Like really, if there's something physical, it's got to be shipped. And so when you look at the overall opportunity in the U.S., that's always been there. And so for Mike and John, it was more so we're super passionate about what we've done. We feel that we've built something really, really special. Let's take it to the U.S. and build the same thing here in the U.S.
And sorry, I'm going to intervene again here. In addition to that, which is everything that Kody just said is the main driving focus, but there's always, those secondary things behind that. And with that, whenever you think about it this way, the UK can ultimately fit into the state of Texas. That's as far as the size goes. And so they've already established such a large footprint in the UK. They're pretty much sold out in the UK. They've kind of capped themselves at this point. And so they've already provided the infrastructure. They've already provided the support, the proprietary technology, all these things has already been established. And there's an easy way to transition what they've already established to the United States. And to my point of, well, the UK, the size of the UK compared to the States, well, one of the key factors in determining the cost of a shipment is distance that you go. And so we know that in the United States, the distance that some of these shipments will go is much further. So no, it wasn't necessarily about, okay, well, the revenue can be significantly more in the United States, but that is one of the outcomes of transitioning to the United States is the fact that these shipments are going much further in distance, which in turn creates higher revenue.
Love that. So Dana, who is the ideal Speedy Freight franchise owner and any particular background you're looking for?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a particular background rather than a personality trait. I mean, obviously, if you have sales experience, that's great. But some can argue that having sales experience and having that, that experience in different kinds of sales positions can kind of taint you a little bit too. So what you're really looking for in this business is somebody who's eager, hungry, who can build relationships, sales professionals, executives, people that really want to take their prior experience and transition it into something that is more meaningful for them and a business that they built up for themselves. Yeah. Keep in mind, these businesses have great resale value. So a lot of people want to build and scale these businesses up. So those gritty, those hungry people, we can teach and we support the logistics side of things here as part of our training and our ongoing support. But that personality and that ability to build relationships and that accountability that you have to hold to yourself, we can't teach those things. For example, we're not going to hold your hand as a franchise owner after you brush your teeth in the morning and say, hey, Lance, did you get up this morning and go out selling? We're not doing that. We'll teach you how to do it. We'll give you the tools to do it, but we're not going to hold your hand. And if you're not doing that piece of this business, it's going to stay like this. So you have to hold yourself accountable as well.
I think, Lance, if I could add on to that.
I was going to say, Kody, we're definitely going to get your input on this. I just want to cut in for one quick second. Dana, I love what you said, and I want to hear Kody's take. Obviously, it's great to get people that feel comfortable in a sales position. But at the end of the day, Speedy Freight's going to definitely be a brand that it's all about getting in front of the right people. They feel comfortable with you. You give them the appropriate bid. You could talk about that process, and you discover, hey, not only can I save you money, you got your concierge and me to call anytime you need anything to handle your stuff. You're not dealing with some crazy 800 numbers. So, Kody, what do you say on all this?
So yeah, I agree with that 100%. Dana hit everything really spot on the head. I think what I would add too is that the main thing that we feel really will lead to success is not really driven by background. Background can have a big piece of that, but the main driving factor is what drives you as an individual, right? Dana kind of hinted, we're not there to hold your hand as you wake up in the morning and right after you brush your teeth. We're not, pushing you. It's really, we're looking for the individuals that get up every morning and they have a reason to go out and be successful. And that's going to be different for every individual that's out there. They're going to have something that motivates and drives them. But just having that clear understanding of why I'm doing this, right? Why am I getting into business ownership? Why do I want to be successful? And remembering that's what's going to lead to long-term success. And those are the individuals that we want, the individuals that have a clear vision of, hey, this is why I want to get into business ownership. This is what's going to drive me to be successful. That driving why is so important in business ownership. And so that's really what we're looking for. So, I'm sure we're going to talk to people that have very diverse backgrounds, that have done a lot of really unique things. They may have done sales, they may not have done sales, they may know all about logistics, they may not. We can teach all the stuff in the middle, but to Dana's point, we cannot teach that drive, that grit, that why. And so that's the main thing that we look for and that we try and identify with potential franchisees.
I always tell people you can't train personality either.
Yep.
So what really drew you, Kody, to Speedy Freight? Because I know you were in the industry. So is that what enticed you and you said, hey, I got a chance to build something?
Lance, that's a great question. And funny enough, it does come back to my why. So to kind of build on what you said, I have been in the industry for quite some time. So I was part of another franchise organization prior to Speedy Freight. I owned a franchise for 17 years. Had a lot of success owning it. Loved business ownership. I've never been a W-2 employee until actually now, which is kind of funny, ironic. But while I was building my franchise and having quite a bit of success, I also stepped into the role of the director of franchise development with that brand. And so I learned a lot about franchising, learned a lot about what it takes to be successful, had a lot of conversations with a lot of individuals, and that really brought me to my why. I gained a passion for really helping individuals be successful. I loved talking to individuals that were looking to achieve something, helping them understand that the brand I was part of had the tools that they needed so they could achieve their dreams, and then helping them go through that process and really visualizing that and seeing that. That's what I really got excited about. And so back in 2003, when Speedy Freight approached me, and I had the opportunity to meet them in Vegas, when we started talking, and once again going back to that conversation where they weren't talking about, what they were doing from a unit economic standpoint, and their focus really is, this is who Speedy Freight is. This is the brand. That's when, for me, my why stepped in, because I got really passionate about it, and I said, this is a brand that can build a culture that allows individuals to achieve their goals. I want to be part of this, and I want to help build this, because that's my why. That's what I really enjoy doing, is help individuals achieve their goals.
That sounds a lot like Apple's philosophy. I remember Steve Jobs would always say focus on the product, focus on the service, profits will follow. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Dana, what drew you? I mean, look, you repped some great brands, and when you were approached about Speedy Freight, what was your thoughts on that?
So to kind of give you a little backstory on me personally, I also own franchises in addition to being a director of franchise development. Two of the franchises that I own are brick and mortar in the beauty space. So I understand the brick and mortar side of things. I understand having that kind of structure, having a skill specific employee that we need to train to that skill, and the costs associated with those things. I understand that side of things. I also understand more of a mobile, home-based business as well, because I also own another franchise that is similar in model as far as sales goes, getting out there into the community, building relationships, not having brick and mortar, not having employees that I need to necessarily train on an actual skill. And to be honest with you, the reason I initially bought that business was because of my previous and current experience with brick and mortar. I love brick and mortar. Don't get me wrong. I love my businesses, but to have, there's the nuances with every kind of business, right? Well, the nuances that I found in brick and mortar, I did not find in my other more mobile home-based business. So then whenever I saw Speedy Freight come to the FastLane inventory, it really sparked my interest initially, because it's pairing that dynamic of the model of low overhead, low employee count, not having to spend a ton of money in training my employees. And then ongoing, it's low overhead. That was particularly very exciting for me. And it's in a completely different space and industry of the franchise that I own. And this one has a much larger industry. It's more of a true business. Whenever you think about what is a real business, yes, business is strategy, but it's really more of being presented a problem in the business that you own and then finding a solution. Because as we know, there is a solution to every single problem. And that is the core of Speedy Freight, is finding solutions for problems. And so that is what makes a business a true business. And I think I'm just an entrepreneur to my core, and it just gets me excited.
Yeah.
that real business feel. So
I could tell. And the fact that it's home based, I mean, some people might get an office eventually, but home based, low cost, and to your point, everybody, almost practically everybody, can use Speedy Freight, which is incredible. Let's talk about scale. Everybody today wants to know, how do I build a business and scale it? So how does the Speedy Freight franchise scale over time? And really, what does that runway look like? What does that first 6 months or first year look like for a new franchisee in the U.S.?
Yeah, I'll let Dana take this one first, and then I'll build off of her answer.
Absolutely. So from my perspective, just, obviously keep in mind, Where I come into the role here at Speedy Freight is in those initial stages of educating people on this brand. Once they decide to become a franchise owner, at that point, Speedy Freight will start an initial onboarding and training process. Part of that process is to meet the team in person at our Dallas corporate location. It is an extensive training that they're going through. So whenever I say you don't need to have logistics background, that's part of the reason why. Once they go through that training, then they can start their business, okay? And so from that point, whenever you're thinking about what kind of ownership model you're looking at, there's strategy here behind that. On the owner-operator side, where I tend to call it more of like you're buying yourself a job, so to speak. Not a bad thing, but you're saving money on upfront payroll costs. If it's just you can have a home office. But on the flip side of this, if you are looking at this more from let me build a team from the beginning, you will have those upfront payroll costs and you will have an office space because you have a team where everybody needs to come together and work efficiently together. But you will likely scale a bit quicker. So because you have more hands on deck, it's just kind of common sense. Around that 6-month mark, hopefully at that point, you've already kind of started generating some revenue with some accounts that you've secured. And you will likely, part of that team that you're scaling and growing will want to maybe hire an operations person or an additional salesperson or start to, as your business is growing and scaling, so is your team. So even though we have a low employee count, because what I've come to find with a lot of our UK franchise owners is that the teams that they have built not necessarily are kind of just a one-track minded person. They're all kind of working together, and it's not like this person is doing this and this person's doing that. It's a team effort. And so whenever you think about that aspect where everybody is kind of able to handle all positions of the company, you don't really need a ton of individual people doing one individual job. So it's a low employee count from that perspective too. So that's the 6-month trajectory that I have seen, or examples that I've seen. So Kody, you can probably speak a little bit more specifically to that, considering the fact that you've done it yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's a great answer, Dana. You did a great job describing that. And Lance, I think when we talk about scalability, the unique thing with us is a lot of it does, to Dana's point, come back to what does the franchisee want, right? What are their goals? And that's kind of what we're building all of our training and all of our support around, is sitting down with individuals and really building out a forecast based on what their goals are and what they're looking to achieve. To Dana's point, you may have an owner-operator that is coming into this, one territory, and his goal is to build out that territory in that first 6 months. It may be he's going out and sitting in multiple seats. Or it could be someone that's coming in and they're going to come in with a team and their approach is a little bit different. They're going to have multiple territories and they're going to hire a sales team and really manage the business from a different way, where the first individual is really working in the business and building it with his hands. That the other individual is more working on the business versus in the business and growing that way. But the unique thing overall with this business, when we talk about how do we scale, our model is really built on recurring revenue, right? So you go out, you build this relationship, you've provided the solution, and that relationship is going on and on, right? We're not going after shippers that do one shipment and then that's all they have. The goal is that you build relationships with customers that are lasting. So when we talk about scalability, really the scalability comes down to if you're a single individual and you're going out, there does come a point when you can only knock so many doors, you can only talk to so many people, you can only support so many customers. And so the scale is not going out and building another office or making that kind of investment. Really, it's building your team, right? It's either hiring another operations individual to support those customers, or it's hiring a sales individual. But the great thing is that that's very, very much in control of the franchisee. And that's why I say our training and what we do from an onboarding standpoint is very much geared to the vision of that individual, to the type of business that they want to build. and then we build those projections based around their goals and what they're looking to get out of their business. And that's kind of what it looks like from a scale standpoint.
Sounds great. So you've been getting quite a bit of buzz already, and you just launched. So what's the secret there? What's going on?
Checks all the boxes, Lance. This business checks all the boxes. I mean, it really does. I mean, obviously knowing sales is hard, okay? And we're not claiming it's easy to do sales. However, whenever you think about this business, low startup cost, state of the economy, people don't know what's kind of going on, and so
and
low
Dana,
startup
wait,
costs.
Give me those low startup costs. So what is it generally in that item 7, roughly?
Mostly you're looking at the franchise fee. So again, it goes back to, are you planning on starting this business with a team? Are you starting this business with an office because you have a team? Or are you doing this on your own? So that really kind of determines the swing in our initial investment. So whenever we're talking about the initial investment from a low side of things, it really just depends on how you want to structure your business for yourself in those beginning stages. So as an owner operator, you are saving on payroll costs, as I mentioned, and you can work from a home office. So you won't have that initial upfront, rent cost or utilities, whatever the case may be. On the other side of this, if you're planning on structuring it with a team from the beginning, then you have payroll costs up front, rent, things of that nature. So there's a little bit of a swing here. As an owner-operator, you're probably looking closer to about a $72,000 initial investment. And that does include our $49,500 franchise fee. On the team building side of this, so more of the manager model, right, you're looking at probably closer to $160,000. And that's because now you have payroll costs, you have rent, things like that. So that's really what makes and determines that swing of that initial investment. So back to your question of why this business is getting so much buzz, not just low investment, but low overhead ongoing. So mostly payroll costs. We don't have equipment, so we don't have the trucks. We don't have the warehouse space, even though you might see some trucks in our images. Those are from the UK. So some of our UK franchisees do have trucks and vans and warehouses. That's not our model here in the States. And then great returns. We have great returns. And you're building a business for yourself that you can either continue building for as long as you want or building a business to sell it. And so it really appeals to a lot of different people whenever they see the numbers, whenever they see the actual steps that it takes to become a franchise owner of Speedy Freight.
So Kody, I have to ask you, what is the craziest thing that you've ever had to ship in your career? Or the weirdest?
Is this appropriate?
Yeah, maybe we should start there. Is this appropriate? Craziest thing that I personally had to ship. I actually don't know that I've had to do anything quite crazy. I know of crazy things. I know someone that ships some dolphins.
Ships dolphins?
Yeah, they did a shipment of dolphins from, I think it was from New Orleans out to the Bahamas. They had to figure out how to go about that. I know another individual would ship dogs in from the Middle East into Canada, rescue type dogs. That's some unique stuff. As far as what I've done, I'm very much, I want to keep it simple, right? So I target customers that keep it simple, keeps my headaches low.
Law firms.
Yeah, I stay away from law firms. No law firms. But a lot of my background, funny enough, cosmetics, fulfillment, warehousing, electronics are easy. We always try and keep it fairly easy and simple. And that's the great thing is that as franchise owners, they have control over that. They can make it as hard or as easy as they want based on the market that they target, the verticals.
Well, I think the audience has heard it. All ship happens. Thank you, Speedy Freight. Thank you, Dana and Kody with a K, for being here And hope to see you guys in person, live in person, very soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks so
Look
much,
forward to it.
Lance.
My pleasure.
If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.